Columbia, South Carolina. Just days before Christmas 2021, a young father vanishes. No warning. No trace. Terrell Sims was a hard-working man and a devoted father of four. His girlfriend, Taylor Wardlaw, pleaded for help, organizing search parties, making heartfelt appeals to the media, looking every bit the grieving partner. But what if the person screaming the loudest was hiding the darkest secret of all? This is the story of a man who vanished under mysterious circumstances and a community desperate for answers. But as detectives dug deeper, the truth would unravel a tale of betrayal, violence, and deception. How did a seemingly loving girlfriend become a murder suspect? What could drive someone to take the life of a man she once called family? And when justice finally arrived, why did it feel so unfinished? Tonight, we follow the chilling trail of Taylor Wardlaw and Terrell Sims, a true crime story of love turned lethal. If you're finding this story compelling, don't forget to hit the like button. It helps more people discover these important cases. And subscribe for more true crime breakdowns just like this one. Taylor Wardlaw and Terrell Sims first crossed paths in Columbia, South Carolina. It wasn't long before their connection turned romantic. Terrell, a proud father and devoted family man. Taylor, a young mother with a bold personality and a growing social media presence. On the surface, it looked like a modern love story, but those who knew them best say the reality was far from perfect. Their relationship was rocky, marked by frequent arguments, accusations of infidelity, and alarming instances of domestic violence. Police were called to their residence multiple times over the years, though charges were rarely filed. They loved hard, and they fought even harder. That's how one of Terrell's cousins described the relationship. Taylor's family says she was loyal and passionate, but also hot-tempered. Terrell's friends saw a man struggling to stay present for his kids while navigating a toxic home life. There was always yelling, you know? One day they'd be fine, the next day someone's calling the cops. Friend of Terrell Sims. Still, despite the turmoil, they stayed together. Perhaps for the kids. Perhaps out of fear. Or maybe, just maybe, because the story wasn't finished writing itself yet. It was just 5 days before Christmas, December 20th, 2021. The city of Columbia was wrapped in cold winter air, festive lights twinkled on front porches, and families prepared for the holidays. But for one family, joy would vanish into silence. That day, 31-year-old Terrell Sims, father of four, was last seen alive. There were no public arguments, no police reports filed that evening, no panicked phone calls to friends or relatives. He simply disappeared. No one heard from him. His phone went silent. And most troubling of all, he didn't show up to see his kids. 2 days passed, and on December 22nd, Taylor Wardlaw finally made the call. She walked into the Richland County Sheriff's Department and filed a missing persons report. She told authorities she hadn't seen Terrell since Monday, that he'd left the house without explanation, that she was worried sick. From the very beginning, Taylor painted herself as a concerned partner. She organized candlelight vigils. She posted tearful pleas on Facebook. She reached out to news stations, giving interviews. "Please help me find Terrell," she said. "He would never leave us like this." Search parties were formed. Flyers were printed and handed out across Columbia. Volunteers combed through wooded areas, abandoned buildings, drainage ditches. The community rallied around Taylor, moved by the image of a grieving young mother, desperate for answers. But as investigators began retracing Terrell's final steps, something wasn't adding up. Taylor's story, so full of emotion, was also full of holes. Why did she wait 2 days to report him missing? Why had none of Terrell's close friends heard from him, not even a text, since the night of December 20th? And why did Taylor seem just a little too in control? To the public, she was a woman in mourning. But to detectives, she was beginning to look like something else entirely. 2 weeks passed. The new year arrived, but there was no celebration for the Sims family. No answers. No signs of Terrell. Hope began to dwindle until January 3rd, 2022. Just beyond the outskirts of Columbia, near a quiet creek off Montgomery Avenue, a discovery was made, chilling and tragic. A man's body, partially decomposed, concealed beneath brush and leaves. He had been there for days, exposed to the elements. It didn't take long for investigators to confirm the identity. Dental records and a fingerprint scan made it official. It was Terrell Sims. The autopsy report was grim. Terrell hadn't just died, he had been murdered, shot multiple times. The coroner listed the cause of death as multiple gunshot wounds. This was no accident, and it wasn't random. As word spread through the community, grief turned into shock, and shock quickly morphed into suspicion. Detectives now turned their focus inward on Taylor Wardlaw. At first, her story had sounded plausible, but the more they looked, the more it unraveled. There were inconsistencies, timing that didn't align, descriptions of Terrell's last known movements that couldn't be confirmed. Her emotions, once seemingly genuine, began to appear rehearsed. They pulled cell phone records. Taylor's location data placed her near the very area where Terrell's body was discovered, on the night he vanished. Even more damning, surveillance footage. A nearby gas station camera caught a glimpse of a vehicle matching Taylor's SUV heading toward the creek area around midnight. A second camera showed her returning, hours later, alone. Investigators also noted a disturbing detail. Taylor had gone unusually silent the day after Terrell vanished. No calls, no texts, no posts. It was as if she was waiting for something to settle, for something to be hidden. The pieces were falling into place, and the picture they painted was chilling. The woman once seen as a heartbroken girlfriend was now the prime suspect in a cold-blooded killing. If you're finding this story compelling, don't forget to hit the like button. It helps more people discover these important cases, and subscribe for more true crime breakdowns just like this one. Just 3 days after Terrell Sims' body was discovered, the investigation reached a turning point. On January 6, 2022, officers arrived at the home of Taylor Wardlaw, the same woman who had cried on camera, organized search parties, and begged the public for answers, was now being placed in handcuffs. She was formally charged with murder and possession of a firearm during a violent crime. The arrest sent shockwaves through Colombia and beyond. How could the grieving girlfriend now be the accused killer? For many who had watched her plead for help, the news felt like betrayal. Headlines blared across every outlet: girlfriend charged in boyfriend's death, search leader now murder suspect, and from grief to guilt. Social media erupted. Some expressed disbelief. Others claimed they always sensed something was off. But one thing was clear: this case had shifted. The narrative had changed, and the community was left reeling. The mask of innocence had cracked, and the justice system was now in motion. To understand the why, we must understand the mind. Taylor Wardlaw's behavior in the days surrounding Terrell's disappearance raised more than just suspicion. It raised questions about her psychological state. Why did she wait nearly 2 days to report him missing? Why did she lead search efforts while knowing where he was all along? Analysts point to a possible mix of manipulation and control. Some say it wasn't just about hiding a crime. It was about maintaining an image, a narrative, a mask. In the weeks leading up to Terrell's death, there were reports of increasing tension, jealousy, and emotional volatility. Friends recalled sudden mood shifts, explosive arguments, a relationship teetering on the edge. Experts in criminal psychology suggest we may be looking at a classic case of coercive control turned fatal, a scenario where rage, fear of abandonment, or even revenge can override reason. Dr. Karen Fields, a forensic psychologist, explains, "In cases like this, we often see a desperate attempt to maintain dominance. When the subject feels they're losing control, they strike, sometimes permanently." Others theorize narcissistic traits: the need for admiration, the lack of empathy, the ability to lie effortlessly, all possibly pointing to deeper psychological cracks. Was it impulse, premeditation, or something darker rooted in trauma and toxic attachment? As the trial loomed, these questions would become more than speculation. They would become the foundation of understanding, not just what happened, but why it happened. After months of silence and speculation, the case of Terrell Sims finally reached a courtroom. But what many expected to be a dramatic trial ended with a quiet plea. March 25, 2024. Taylor Wardlaw stands before the judge not to fight the charges, but to admit guilt. In a surprising turn, she pleads guilty to voluntary manslaughter, not murder. The courtroom is tense. The air is thick with disbelief. In exchange for her plea, the charge of murder is dropped. The deal? 20 years in prison. No trial, no testimony, No full account of what really happened that night in December. For many, the plea agreement felt like a shortcut to closure, but for others, it left more questions than answers. Members of Terrell's family sat in the courtroom, hearts heavy, eyes fixed on the woman who once called him her soulmate and who now admitted to taking his life. In a press conference outside the courthouse, Terrell's sister spoke through tears. "We wanted justice. 20 years isn't justice. My brother had 4 children. He had a future." The sentence sent shockwaves through the Columbia community. Some viewed it as leniency, others a necessary compromise in a system that often prioritizes expedience over truth. For Taylor, the case was closed, but for Terrell's family, the pain was far from over. There were no final answers, no trial narrative, just a signed confession and a sentence that felt too light for a life lost. As the courtroom doors closed behind Taylor Wardlaw, the case of Terrell Sims didn't fade into silence. Instead, it found new life on screens across the country. In 2024, the television series Snapped aired a chilling segment detailing the murder. With reenactments, archived news clips, and exclusive commentary, the episode shed new light on the case and drew millions of viewers. Other true crime programs quickly followed. Podcasts dissected every twist. YouTube creators posted deep dives with titles like Mother of 4 or Cold-Blooded Killer. TikToks went viral, piecing together timelines with dramatic flair. The public, hungry for true crime content, latched onto the story. It had all the elements: love turned toxic, a missing person, a betrayal, and a confession. Audiences debated motives, dissected police reports, and speculated on social media. Some sympathized with Taylor, painting her as a woman pushed too far. Others saw calculated evil. In comment sections and livestream chats, the conversation never stopped. And in the age of digital justice, Taylor Wardlaw became a symbol, either of a broken system or a woman who broke everyone's trust. The media had taken over. What began as a private tragedy became a national obsession. In the quiet aftermath of a crime that shattered lives and stunned a community, the deepest scars remained invisible, etched into the hearts of those left behind. Terrell Sims was more than a name in a headline. He was a father of 4. His children, now growing up without the man who once tucked them in at night, face a future shaped by grief and unanswered questions. Family members have stepped in to raise them, trying to provide stability amid the trauma. Therapists and counselors work to help the young minds process what no child should ever have to endure: the loss of a parent at the hands of someone they trusted. The impact of domestic violence ripples outward. Friends, neighbors, a city that watched the story unfold on the evening news, Columbia, South Carolina, now holds more vigils and fewer assumptions. Community organizations began hosting workshops. Churches opened their doors for support groups. Advocates spoke out louder, determined that no more lives would be lost to silence or secrecy. In memory of Terrell, his loved ones have planted seeds of change, turning sorrow into service and tragedy into a mission. And though justice has run its course in the courtroom, the true healing continues, not just for Terrell's children, but for every voice that dares to speak up before it's too late. The story of Terrell Sims is not just a headline, it's a wake-up call. A devoted father taken too soon, a family broken, a community shaken, and a nation reminded of the hidden danger that often hides in plain sight: domestic violence. As we reflect on this heartbreaking case, one message must echo louder than the silence that cost Terrell his life. Listen to the warning signs. Believe the survivors. Take action before tragedy strikes. Because behind every smiling photo, there may be a silent cry for help, and every voice that speaks out has the power to save a life. In remembering Terrell, we must not only grieve, but grow, learn, and protect those still within reach. If this story moved you, don't let it stop here. Hit the like button, share this video to raise awareness, and subscribe for more in-depth true crime stories that matter. You never know who might need to hear this. No one should suffer in silence. Together we can break the cycle and be the voice for those who can't speak.